Hey, Katie here. Happy New Year. Thanks for coming into another year with us on the Bittersweet Life. I just wanted to give a quick thank you as we start this episode. I want to thank the people who stepped up and sent in both the sweetest notes ever and a donation to help us pay the gigantic January bills that are coming our way at any moment, if they haven't already by the time you're listening to this. So a quick thank you to Cynthia and Michael, Jill, Christy, Helinka, Colleen, Patty, and Ginny. Thank you so much for sending in your support, helping us get another year off to the right start. And I also want to thank those of you who sent in a Happy New Year greeting. People like Deb and Maria and Laura and Drek and Adam and Casey. We are so thankful for all of you who reach out and send us notes. You are the reason why we're doing this, and your donations are the reason we can keep doing this, quite honestly. So I also want to tip over to the Patreon people for just a minute, and I'm not going to name all of you because we got to get going with the show. But the most recent people who have joined the Patreon, Jane, Matt, Jana, Jill, and Robin, thank you so much for jumping on patreon.com/the Bittersweet Life podcast to give us a monthly donation so we can actually plan to get some help putting the show together, to grow the show a little bit. Can't do it without you. And for those of you who are currently free members, because if you visit patreon.com/the Bittersweet Life podcast, you can become a free member just to give it a try, just to check it out. Welcome those of you who are checking it out for free. I truly hope that you decide to support the show on a monthly basis. It means so very much to us. And you really do all mean so much to us. We love hearing from you. So happy 2026. May this be a great year of exploration and deep conversation and community together. And I am forever grateful, regardless of where this show goes from here. And let's get going. Welcome to Rome. This is The Bittersweet Life with Katie Sewell and Tiffany Parks. Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
Tiffany in Rome, Katie in Seattle, and welcome to the brand new year, 2026, where we leave old things behind and take on all things new. And let me tell you something that's going to be new in the new year if you're going to be visiting Rome. Perhaps you've seen this article. Perhaps you're not even going to go to Rome, and yet still I find this pretty interesting. So let's take a look at this headline. What 2026 will be bringing us. Visiting the Trevi Fountain will now cost more than just a coin toss with a €2 tourist fee. So that's the headline. Let me just read you a few more details. So maybe for those of you who do not know, let's talk about, before I read this article, let's talk about what is the coin toss? Now, I'm assuming many of you do know, but what is the coin toss? Tiffany, do you want me to say it or do you want to tell about it?
Well, I can tell it. I mean, it's a tradition. It's a legend in Rome that if you throw a coin in the Trevi Fountain in a particular way, which is throwing it with your right hand over your left shoulder, the legend says that you are guaranteed a return visit to Rome.
Yes.
And this has been being told in Rome for who knows how long, at least since the 50s, because there's a movie about it from the 50s and possibly much longer. So people want to do this. And obviously the Trevi Fountain is one of the most spectacular monuments in the city. It's not my personal favorite in terms of beauty. It is beautiful. I'm not going to say it's ugly. It's definitely not an ugly fountain.
Yeah.
It's not my taste so much, but it's definitely spectacular and it's impressive. And it makes a great photo. It's cinematographic. It makes a great backdrop for a photo.
Yeah.
And so it's where everybody goes. I mean, everybody takes their picture there.
Right. It's kind of like a tourist kryptonite in that it is a famous tradition that has a stunning backdrop. And now that we are an Instagrammable society, how can you resist a stunning backdrop? Yeah, the movie that made it famous was Federico Fellini's La Dolce Vita. I think it was featured. And maybe, I don't know if it became immediately everybody was trying to do it, but it certainly helped the process. Okay.
There's also a film called Three Coins in the Fountain, which I think is even earlier.
Okay.
the Dolce Vita, they swim in, they go in
Yeah,
to
they
the
go
fountain.
in. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I don't know where. I think the coin story is in an earlier film, if I'm not mistaken. But don't quote me on that because I'm not an expert in classic films. But I know that three coins in a fountain also has to do with it.
Did they throw them in Roman Holiday? Because
I don't think so. I
because
don't think so.
one thing, if you've never been to Rome, that you might not know is that you are going to see Audrey Hepburn around quite a bit because of Roman
Yeah,
Holiday, which is amazing.
yeah.
The staying power of that film. Okay, so right now, seeing the Trevi Fountain is free. In fact, it's still going to be free if you just want to walk on by it because it's a
Which
public
is
square. There's no way to avoid it if you're in that square. It's a gigantic fountain. You cannot not see it if you happen to be near it. uh,
yeah.
but it is technically still going to be free. What's not going to be free anymore is going down to the lip of the fountain where people make this historic, let's call it, coin toss over their shoulder in the hopes of returning to Rome. Tiffany, why don't you tell us like what it's currently like when you what are they trying to address here by putting a fee on this?
Okay, well, let me back up a tiny bit because there have been a few different phases that Trevi Fountain has gone through in recent years. Like I'm not going to go back very far,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been a tour guide for many years in Rome, and my classic tour that 75% of the people who go on my tours take is the Roman Marvels tour, which is just basically the top sites and also some lesser top sites, but still really cool. So it's a nice mix. But the Trevi Fountain is clearly one of the top sites, and it's on the route, and so I always take people there. And so I've been going there. I've been to the Trevi Fountain hundreds and hundreds and thousands, probably thousands of times. And in recent years, in really just maybe the last 2 to 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten significantly worse. And not just because there are more people. There probably are more people. Rome has had a significant uptick in tourism after COVID, but it's not just that there are more people. It's the way that people are behaving when they go down to the lip of the fountain to take their photos and throw the coins in. It used to be that, you really, it was always, like I said, it was always crowded, but you just had to elbow your way down there and you could do it. Like you just had to kind of weave through the people because there's inevitably lots of people are just they're just hanging around and like taking up space. So you got to kind of get around those people and maneuver your way. And eventually you get down to the lip of the fountain. It's very wide. If you're not familiar with it, it's a very, very wide as well as tall fountain. And so there's a lot of space. It's not like just one couple has space to sit there.
Right.
Like probably how many people would you guess could sit along the lip of the fountain stretching from side to side?
I mean,
30 people at least.
if they were shoulder to shoulder, I bet you could get like 50 to 75 people on it, really.
50?
If they were shoulder to
75?
shoulder, if they were shoulder to shoulder, squished in
Wow.
together,
Maybe. I don't know.
maybe that's too
75 sounds
high.
like a lot.
It's been a while
Anyway,
since I didn't
regardless,
actively avoid the Trevi Fountain.
yeah. So what I'm saying is it's a pretty wide space. Nevertheless, it's always been crowded in my experience. But what you do is you get your phone out, your camera out, what have you. And I'm often with clients, right? I usually do private tours. So I'm usually with like two people or a family. And so I kind of just shepherd them down there. And I'm like, okay, just wait. And I sort of home in on a couple who looks like they're getting ready to finish. And I just patiently wait for them to finish. And then my clients sit down or stand up, depending, and I take their picture. And I take a couple, maybe even a really, really short video, like a 3-second video of like the actual coin toss. And then we head up. And that's what everybody did. And of course, there were some guys down there who are trying to take your photograph and sell it to you. In recent years, I don't think they've had a lot of business because everybody has their phones, but there might be some people selling roses down there. For the most part, it's tourists who are getting in, getting out, tossing their coin and getting out of there. Because who wants to spend any time down there? Because it's miserable. And it happened around, like I said, about 2 or 3 years ago that I was doing what I always do. And I went down there with these people, and there was this woman, and she was an attractive woman. I mean, average. She wasn't a model, right? She was just an ordinary woman, but she's very pretty and well made up and stuff. And she was sitting there with her coin in her hand and her big smile. And her boyfriend, I assume her husband, was sitting there taking her photo. but it was like they would not move. I couldn't believe it. Like I kept looking at them pointedly because I feel like in the old days, quote unquote, the old days, like
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of embarrassing to do that. Like you wouldn't take up an entire space like that for more than a minute, that it took you to get your photo and then you'd move aside. Like I just feel like people were a little more courteous. And I just couldn't believe that she was and she was taking up a whole bunch of space. And it's just a very crowded area. So it's very hard to do that. I don't know really how she was pulling that off. But eventually, some other couple got up and we took somebody else's spot. And I started to notice that this was a problem, that people were not just going in, getting their photo, getting out. They were doing an entire photo shoot down there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, an
Trying to get,
amateur photo shoot.
yeah, the perfect shot, looking for the perfect
Yeah,
shot.
the perfect shot. And it's so hard to get a shot down there without any other people in it. Like if that's what you're trying to go for, you're going to be there for a long time because it's almost impossible
Yeah.
unless you're there super early in the morning or super late at night. But I've heard that even now, even at that time, like even at 6 a.m., it's crowded now. So,
Wow, that's too
um,
bad. One of my most precious moments of living in Rome was getting up early, and I don't even think it was that early. I think it was like 7:30, and I arrived at this Trevi Fountain at like 7:30, and there was one other guy there. One guy, and I just sat there for half an hour, 45 minutes and wrote in my journal, and like maybe two other people showed up. It was so quiet.
those were the days.
Those were the days, but that was
Those were
now
the
over 10
days.
years ago. So,
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem like long enough to have made such a big difference. I
well,
even remember 2 years ago, Katie, because I used to, like, I have a certain way that I walk. If I'm doing a different tour, if I'm doing my secret room tour, I have a different starting place. And I get off the metro at the Barberini metro station and I walk to my starting place and I pass by the Trevi Fountain. And it's earlier than it would be if I was doing a tour because I usually start my tours at 9:30. So if I'm on my way to a tour, it's 8:30. And I even remember as little as 2 years ago at 8:30, not empty, but it would be very quiet. It was very nice. You could get a really great photo. You could have a bit of breathing space. Now, from what I've heard, it's like everybody shows up in their ball gown and with their tripod. I don't know how they pack that stuff, but they have ways. Like they even have ways of changing in public. They have like clothes underneath their gown, or they like, I don't know. There's like a whole there's like a whole world that we don't know about, Katie. So Rome started to realize that this was a problem, because as crowded as it always used to be down there, it was much worse because people weren't leaving. Like they weren't getting in and getting out. They were just getting in and staying. And so it became so congested that they decided that they would make it so that only, I think, 40 people could go down there at a time. It was free, but you had to wait in line. And from that moment, I never went down again. I basically just say to my clients, like, we don't have time in the tour to wait. If you want to do that, you can come back after, but we're not gonna, we're not gonna
yeah.
do that. And the lines sometimes are really, really not bad. Like sometimes when I pass by around 9:30, 10 in the morning, it's not terrible. At noon, it's like, God help, like I pray for you if you go there anytime around noon. But apparently, Katie, I mean, and this has only been going on for like a year, this line. I mean, I don't know. I didn't read the article that you have in front of you,
Oh, I'm
but I
ready.
did hear about it. I did hear about it. But I mean, what makes me curious is the thought process that went into this, where they were like, hey, can we
Okay.
make an extra buck off of these people?
I mean, I guess, yeah, the thought
Extra
is,
two
yeah, we
bucks.
can. And maybe it will make some people not want to go, although I don't think the fee is so high that people will not do it. However,
No, no.
okay, so starting February 1st, 2026, the city of Rome is imposing a €2 fee. So that's like what, $2.35 right now? Something like that.
Something like that.
For tourists to get close to the fountain. The tourist fee was announced as a part of the Eternal City's effort to manage tourist flow in a particularly congested part of town and improve the experience and offset the maintenance costs of preserving all of Rome's cultural heritage. Officials currently estimate that it could net the city 6.5 million euros extra every single year. They say in here that it's been the fee, which had been discussed and debated for more than a year, follows a similar ticketing system as at the Rome's Pantheon monument. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to read too much. But anyway, somehow they are going to make it so that if you are a registered Roman resident, that you get to go in for free. So I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
except the only problem is the residents of Rome have no desire.
Right. And how would they? I mean, it just makes it complicated, I guess.
When you live in Italy, you have on your ID card, it says your province of residence.
Oh,
A
okay.
province is like a city, but it's bigger. It's like the city and all the suburbs.
It ends the article by saying that so far this year, and of course this was written in 2025, so we're past this now. We're in 2026. But so far this year, 2025, around 9 million people have waited in line to get that close up shot, with some days as many as 70,000 people passing through.
My God,
That's
it's
incredible.
insane.
That's
It's
insane.
insane.
Okay, well, all this is to say, it's the end of an era at the Trevi Fountain, and maybe a new era will begin again. I mean, eras end and begin all the time, right? So it's an end of an era, but it's the beginning of something new. And I don't know, it made me think more about that larger question of sort of like the end of a time, or the end of something. Like we take for granted that the Trevi Fountain is a free experience for one and all, and yet now it is no longer a free experience for one and all. You know what I mean? Or like the Pantheon. We've talked about that. The Pantheon was once a free experience for one and all, and now it's not. And of course, this extends to outside of Rome too. Things are changing all the time. I was just thinking about this very nostalgically, actually, because I just recently digitized a bunch of things I had on video cassette. And I sent in like video cassettes where I wasn't even sure what was on them, where it would just have like some sort of cryptic note. And it's all videos that were basically taken either during high school or for me, during my high school or during like the years right after I graduated from college. And like, so I'm like 24 years old, 23, 24 years old. And of course, it's very interesting to look back at your animated self. And I know kids today won't have problems with this at all, but we did not record ourselves very much. And so
No, I
it's been
didn't.
very strange to like look back at my 20 something self and hear what I had to say. I almost feel like we should do a different show where I play you some clips of like what I talked about. But part of the nostalgia of that too is that there are a couple videos where I'm just like walking around the city of Seattle with my friend Ryan, and we're just like filming random shots of different streets. And of course, it's like 20 years ago now, if not more. And so obviously it's a very recognizable city. Not everything has changed, but then you're also like, wow, so much has changed. Like the cars are also different now. And, and we're just walking around taking casual views of our day-to-day life, and now it could be like an entirely different period of time. I mean, it is an entirely different period of time, but it's just kind of amazing of how much the look of things changes too over time, and so I've just been like knee deep in all that in the last 24 hours. So
No, but I love that. I'd love to do that, do an episode like that. And I mean, I want to see the videos actually. So our listeners will only get to hear it, but I'd like to see it.
Unfortunately, some of the audio isn't great. But I had a habit of doing a thing where my friends, we would interview each other, like not necessarily formally, but we
You
would.
don't say, Katie.
Yeah,
That
right.
just doesn't sound like you
I
at
was
all.
not a great interviewer back then, by the way. But or we would like put questions into a jar, and then we'd have to go alone into the room and pull a question and answer it. And a lot of the topics would be like terribly inappropriate, not for air. But I mean, we were talking about like one time a boyfriend, I think, was videotaping me, and he just said, "What are you afraid of?" And here I am, I'm in college in this videotape. And I said, "Well, I'm not really afraid of much, but I am a little bit afraid of death, and I'm trying to work on that." I say, and then I say, and I'm also afraid, I'll have to play you the actual quote sometime, but I say something like, "And I'm afraid of getting older because at our age, you can tell it's coming," which I thought,
At our age,
well, and it was coming. I mean, we're not wrong.
it's always coming.
Yeah.
It's always coming.
I know, but I was like, oh, that's so cute. How profound. But and of course, the other delight of those old videotapes is seeing the old pets that you have, like just walk
Mm.
past, and just go about their business. But anyway, getting a little off topic. Nostalgia. I mean, is there something? I mean, we can stick to Rome since this whole episode's mostly been about Rome. Is there something that you're nostalgic about that used to be like fairly common in Rome that is not that like that era is over? Or you could say something in your own life too.
I feel like in the wintertime it used to be empty,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just not anymore. It's not as crowded as it is in the high season, of course. It's not gonna be as crowded, but it's never empty. There's always lots of people and
Mm-hmm.
lots of groups, and in the middle of January you can see, these tour groups of like 40, 50 people, like when is this group going to end so I can cross the street kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I say this as a tour guide, and like some people would say, oh, you should be grateful there's tourists. And I mean, of course, I am grateful that there's tourists, but there can be too much of a good thing, as we've talked about a lot.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question. Would you say that the Trevi Fountain, if people are indeed lining up now, 70,000 people a day lining up to get down to the lip of that fountain, would you say that that is the most overrated thing that people line up for in the city?
Absolutely not. The most overrated thing people line up for in Rome is the mouth of truth.
Yeah, that's what I would have said,
It's
guessed.
just absolutely pointless. At least the Trevi Fountain is a beautiful work of engineering. It's an amazing work of engineering and water control, and it's important, on a architectural historical level, and it's impressive in a way that you just cannot grasp if you don't physically stand in front of it. It doesn't matter how many movies you see or pictures you look at. You're just never going to get it. Um, the mouth of truth is an ancient object, so it is historic just because it's an ancient object, and it's mildly impressive because it's a very, very big drain hole cover, I should say. But you can see it. You can see it from very close up through the grating of the church that houses it in its portico. So you can just kind of walk up to the grating of the church, especially like when the church is closed and there's nobody there. And you could, probably put your phone through the grating and take a decent picture with nobody in it. But that's not enough for most people. They want a picture of themselves with their hand in the mouth,
Yes.
which is another legendary thing that people do in Rome. And you have to pay to do that. Again, that's another thing that I remember when it was free. Now you have to pay. And the line sometimes is ridiculously long. And it's a slow line. Like the line to get down to the Trevi Fountain, I don't know now that you have to pay. It might be different, but it moves pretty quickly because they're letting 40 people at a time down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the Mouth of Truth line is so slow because everybody's like, okay, let's create the perfect shot and let's make sure it's perfect and let me get a picture of you and you get a picture of me and oh, will you take a picture of us? And oh, it just takes forever. And so that for me is the most overrated thing that people have to line up for.
Do you know what the
Actually, wait a second. Wait a second. Sorry, Katie. I just thought of something better.
I can
I
guess
should
what
say
you're gonna
worse.
say, but go ahead.
Well, go for it. No, go for it. I
Well,
want
I
to see
was
if
just
you
gonna
you
tell
know.
you what I think the most overrated line in Seattle is for.
Okay,
But
let's hear
what would I
that.
guess is the other most overrated line in Rome would be the Knights of Malta keyhole, I would say.
Mm.
Not that it's overrated, it's amazing. It's a keyhole where if you look through the keyhole, the view is stunning, which is a fun
It's
thing to do
amazing.
to look through a keyhole and see the most stunning view. The problem is now people are trying to take a photo through a keyhole, which is not an easy thing to do, and that now has
It's
created a
pointless.
line.
Yes, there used to be like 5 or 6 people standing around there, like waiting for their turn, and now it's like a half day event just to get up there because people take so long to take their photo because they're trying to get it perfect. But no, actually, that's not what I was thinking of, Katie. I was thinking of the mirror in
Oh,
Sant'Ignazio di Loyola,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is which is worse than all of those things because what people are waiting in line for is not to see the thing, like to see the keyhole of the Knights of Malta or whatever and get a picture of it, or to put their hand in the mouth of truth and get a picture of it, or to throw a coin in the Trevi Fountain and get a picture of it. But it's only about the picture. It's 100% about the picture because you can study and admire that ceiling as long as you want with no line, with your own two eyes sitting on one of the pews in the church. The mirror serves only to get yourself in the picture, to make it turn it into a selfie. So that's worse.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, let me tell you what the most overrated thing here in Seattle is. And of course, Seattle doesn't have nearly the tourist attractions that Rome does, but we do have some. We do have some. We've talked about on this very show Seattle's notorious and disgusting gum wall, which all of you should just plan a trip to Seattle to see it. Just cuz. Plus, I should work for the Seattle Tourism Board because, when people write to this show, they always are dreaming about going to Rome, but they're never dreaming about going to Seattle. Seattle's always at the bottom of the list, or they've never even heard of the city before.
Even heard of it.
And which is fine. Okay, that's fine. We're like a lower tiered city in the United States. I get that, but the city of Seattle is quite lovely.
It shouldn't be.
And it's a place that should be on your list, even though the weather right now is terrible. Okay, here's what people line up for that I think is dumb. They line up for the quote-unquote original Starbucks, which is down by the Pike Place Market, which is also a famous tourist attraction. Now, the original Starbucks, and I put it in quotes, has the original logo, which is not the logo you know today. It's a logo that included the entire mermaid's body with like the split tail, and it was in tan and dark brown. And they got wise and were like, not only is this slightly pornographic, nobody really loves this logo, let's make it into something better. And they've changed it into the logo we all know and love today, which I actually think is part of the key to their success, is that logo. I really think that is like why they have taken off so extremely. But people wait in a long line to go to the original Starbucks. And I put it in quotes again because it's not actually the original Starbucks. It is an old location. The original Starbucks doesn't exist anymore. But it is an early location, probably the earliest existing location. So it is technically an early Starbucks, but it is not the original Starbucks. So it's a misunderstanding that they probably hype themselves. But people wait in that line to get a cup of Starbucks, which you can get anywhere in the city. There's Starbucks on every corner, and yet they'll wait in this line to get a cup of Starbucks from the original Starbucks, and they'll take lots and lots of pictures of the logo, which you also can do without actually getting a coffee from the Starbucks and get that from, and I would recommend get other coffee. Seattle's known for its coffee. Like, it's not known for just Starbucks. It makes really good coffee. So go elsewhere and get a better cup of coffee if you're in Seattle. I was just down there the other day and I was still surprised. It was pouring rain and the wind was like whipping in sideways from the water, and these poor people are still standing in this line waiting to get their Starbucks. But they seemed happy doing it. So I can't say it's all bad.
Yeah. It's hard when you're a local and you look at the tourists and you're like, what are you doing? Like, what? And you know that when you're a tourist, the locals are looking at you and thinking the same thing.
Right.
You don't always pick up on it, but you know that it happens. It's got to happen.
Yeah. And I think part of being a tourist is embracing those weird things you want to do. Like, you want to buy a pack of gum and like stick it all over the gum wall while you're in Seattle. That's what it's for. If you can shape the gum into your name, it will be there for years. So come to Seattle, shape your name into a piece of gum, and you'll be part of the city forever. All right. Well, happy New Year. We're officially in it. Let's hope it's a great one, full of good things, not bad things. And I guess we'll leave it there. And until next time, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell.
I'm Tiffany Parks.
Join us again. Bye. If you love this show, support it. For as little as $5 every month, you get to hear 2 bonus episodes and even say hello during upcoming meetups online. That's every month for as little as $5. Visit thebittersweetlife.net and click support to explore ways to pitch in to keep this show you love on the air.